What post-secondary education have you received? What has your career path been since you've graduated from post-secondary? And what do you like the most about your job?
So in high school, I was very strong with math and physics. My father's also an electrical engineer, so naturally I went into electrical engineering. Engineers happen to be analytical and curious people. This curiosity is what drove me to figure out people's problems and needs, and it's a critical skill of a product manager. So my career path since graduating goes something like this. Out of uni, I spent about 10 years working as an analyst. So lots of work with the data, but trying to answer questions, figure out with the business, hey business, what are your problems? What are your questions? What decisions do you have to make? I said, okay, forget about working for somebody else. I'm going to work for myself. And I founded a now defunct startup. I didn't know about product management. I wish I did. And that time I learned the real value of product management and how important it is in making decisions on what you should and shouldn't do as a business. Following that, I joined Blackline Safety as an analytics consultant, working with customers, delivering custom solutions using our data. And that's where I learned a lot about our specific segment. So in that safety, environment, health space, I learned about those problems and needs, and then I moved into this product manager role.
I'm a university professor in computing, so I did an undergraduate in computer science, but my master's and PhD were in political science. I worked in the oil industry, I guess, for a bit. I started up, along with a couple of other buddies, a software startup that grew and became relatively successful. Then I don't know, I guess I just grew tired of that line of work and wanted something different in my life, and went back to school. At one point, I saw this job opening at Mount Royal, and took a bit of a flyer, and yeah, 25 years later, I'm still there.
When I graduated, I got a job at Chevron, which is a US-based oil company. So I worked for Chevron. I quit that job and I went to work for Suncor for about a year and a half. I worked for Suncor as network monitoring jobs. I worked for them for a year and a half, and then sort of as the lockdowns were winding down and Suncor was going to make people go back to the office, I really wasn't interested in that, and so I quit Suncor and I joined Red Hat, which is a work from home. So now I work from home permanently. So what I like most about my job now is being able to work from home, sort of work the hours that I want. I have some young kids at home, and so I work basically 7 a.m. till 3 p.m. and then I go pick up my kids from school, and having that kind of flexibility is nice, and working on new technology and that kind of thing is also quite interesting.
What is the biggest challenge in your area of work at the moment?
I'm an individual contributor as a job description, but I can get nothing done as one person, as myself. So I have to always build my relationships, work with everybody. And the biggest challenge is sometimes helping others see the value that we bring as product managers.
How often do you work with a team and individually?
Always working on a team, because for instance, if you're writing code at any large company, how it would typically work is you would write code and submit what they call a pull request, which is sort of a proposal to merge that code into the product, and that would typically always get reviewed by one of your peers before it's merged into the product. And I found in working, that's probably one of the more challenging things, is working with other people, and sometimes you have to have the bravery to tell them that code sucks or whatever it might be, right? Where there's always going to be work with other people. All the jobs I've had is sort of teamwork.
And what are the most important skills for students in computer science and technology to have?
Most of it is based on a lot of soft skills, your ability to grasp technology, what's possible, and empathy. These are kind of soft skills. Empathy towards your users, empathy towards everyone you talk to. You got to be able to relate to them. You got to put yourself in their shoes.
And students come into our program and sometimes they're disappointed to see that half their courses are non-technical courses. But this is what traditional kind of post-secondary education is great at, teaching its students how to think, how to express themselves, how to play nice with others, right? And this is backed up by literally hundreds and hundreds of surveys and studies on employers, right? That for well over 3 decades, communication, thinking skills are always number 1 and 2 for the most requested skills.
How much of your work is spent doing direct keyboard to computer programming?
I mean, when I worked at Suncor, that was sort of an all-day programming thing where I was writing network monitoring software for them. And it's still, you know, it's not, I wasn't counting keystrokes and things like that, but still most of that is getting a request from a customer or a request from your manager. You know, we want the program to do this thing or that thing, and then spending the time to think about, how can I do that in a way that's not going to make the code a big mess? How can I do that in a way that's going to play nicely with the features that are all already there? So to me, like a lot of programming is planning and thinking rather than pounding on the keyboard, right?
What steps can I take to advance in the field of computer science?
Learning how to get at the crux of the problem. What is it? The best developers take 90% of the time allotted to think about the problem, and in 10% of the time to actually code the right, most optimal lines of code that can solve that problem. So that's on the individual track. Some people want to be managers of others, are good with teamwork and getting the best out of everyone. And then that's obviously getting exposures to different things, finding good mentors that you can learn from. So working on different teams, learning from different managers, and then trying to build that into who you are and how you want to manage. And sometimes working for bad managers helps. What not to do, yeah.
You know, I know when I was graduating university, I was very concerned about differentiating myself from the competition being my other, you know, my co-students. I don't know what the proper term for that is. You know, and so that's one of the, you know, I went to say it, but I carried on to get a degree because I wanted to have the education that would differentiate me from the competition when I was looking for work. And in computer science, the other way to do that is to contribute to open source projects that exist. Like as an example, I created and maintain a Nintendo 64 emulator, which was sort of the console of my youth, you know. And this actually came up when I was interviewing for the job I have now at Red Hat. I discussed with the person interviewing me this project that I maintain on GitHub, right? So that's part of it too. I mean, not everyone should feel the need to do that, you know, because that's, you know, like I'm not getting paid for that work, you know, but for the people that really want to kind of go the extra mile, that's something that employers definitely do look at, right?
And I always counsel my students to be willing to learn stuff on the cutting edge, right? New libraries, new techniques, new languages that are sort of just beginning to gain traction in industry, right? In that case, you're often competing against people with just maybe 6 or 12 months experience, you know, instead of someone with 25 years of Java programming experience, which, you know, is possible given how long that thing has been out there. So that means it's potentially the field can be a pretty level playing field for young people, and there's not very many professions that have that kind of potential level playing field. Programming is just one of many, many different possible computing jobs, right? And often the best paying, most interesting computing jobs aren't those that involve programming.